There is a specific kind of anxiety that almost no one knows how to name. It is not born from laziness. It is not born from lack of ability. It is born from an excess of possibilities. Maybe you recognize yourself in this. You look at your life and see many possible paths, too many ideas, too many interests, too many talents, and yet a constant feeling of being stuck. You are not afraid of working hard. What paralyzes you is the choice. And a silent question appears. Why can't I commit to just one thing? What if the problem isn't a lack of persistence? What if it isn't indiscipline? What if the problem is actually the opposite? What if you have too many things you want to be faithful to? Today, we're going to talk about that, about the kind of mind that was never meant to follow a single straight path, and about how to transform this multiplicity, which today generates anxiety, into structure, direction, and real value in the world. You look at your own life and see a dozen different possibilities, and what's most unsettling is that all of them feel like part of who you are. You're not afraid of work. What paralyzes you is the choice. This is the classic scanner dilemma, perfectly summarized by the sentence, "I could do anything if I only knew what to choose." Society has a label for you as well. It calls you a dilettante, someone who does a little of everything but never goes deep into anything. And the anxiety that comes with that label is enormous, because what looks like your greatest strength, curiosity, starts to look in the eyes of the world like your greatest professional risk. Today, the goal is to dismantle this anxiety, to analyze the geometry of a successful career, and to offer a possible path for those who were never meant to be just one thing. To do that, we first need to understand why traditional career advice often sounds like a trap. For much of the last century, the world celebrated the specialist. Society functioned in a predictable way, almost like a chessboard. The rules were clear, and the path to success was to go deeper and deeper into a single field. In psychology, this is called a kind learning environment, an environment that rewards repetition. This is the world of the I-shaped person, the specialist with one deep pillar of knowledge. But this is no longer the world we live in. Today's world is a wicked learning environment. The rules change all the time. Feedback is delayed, and patterns are rarely obvious. Think about the difference between a golfer and a firefighter. A golfer operates in a predictable environment. The rules never change. Feedback is immediate. A firefighter, on the other hand, works in chaos. Every situation is unique, the rules are uncertain, and accumulated technical knowledge may suddenly no longer apply. In worlds like this, the hyper-specialist can develop blind spots. And it's important to be very clear here. We need specialists. The deep knowledge they build is extremely valuable. The problem is not specialization itself. The problem appears when it is treated as the only possible path. When this single model is used to measure everyone, that's when people like you start to feel like failures, when in reality your brain was simply shaped for a different kind of world. To build a career that actually fits you, you need to stop thinking only in terms of job titles and start thinking in terms of formats. The I-shaped person is the specialist. The opposite of that is the dash-shaped person. A lot of breadth, very little depth. This is the trap many people fall into, knowing a little about everything, but having no solid foundation anywhere. And that lack of depth generates anxiety, because you feel like you have no ground to stand on. But there are other possible formats. The most effective one for people like you is the M-shaped professional, the polymath. Here's how it works. Maybe one of your skills is data science. You go deep enough into it to pay the bills. Your second pillar might be storytelling and communication. You go deep into that as well. And the bar that connects these pillars represents your broader interests: psychology, history, design, human behavior. Suddenly, you're no longer someone who's scattered. You become the person who can turn complex data into clear, persuasive stories that a CEO actually understands. That combination is rare, and precisely because of that, it is valuable. The cognitive tool that makes this possible is called far transfer. Specialists usually rely on near transfer, applying a skill to a problem very similar to the one they already know. Polymaths do something different. They recognize the underlying structure of one field and apply it to another, completely different one. Someone who understands the root system of a tree may see a new way to organize a database. A musician who understands harmony and counterpoint may look at a piece of software code and perceive a more elegant structure. That is far transfer. It's hearing the music, not just the notes. And all those interests that once seemed random, they form the library of metaphors from which truly creative insights are born. But how do you build in practice a life in an M shape? It requires a different strategy. The first is serial mastery. You don't build all pillars at the same time. That only brings you back to shallow breadth. You choose one pillar and commit to it for a season, something between 6 and 18 months. And here comes the question that paralyzes so many people. Which one should you choose first? The secret is to reduce the weight of that decision. You're not choosing for the rest of your life. You're choosing only for this phase. A good first pillar is often the one that offers stability. A good enough job, or the one that right now generates the most energy and enthusiasm. Choose one and allow yourself to focus. Build that pillar until you feel you've mastered the essential 80%. You don't need to be the best in the world, just fluent enough to solve most problems without panic. When your curiosity is satisfied, you make a conscious choice. This is not quitting out of weakness. It's graduation. It's strategic quitting. Then you begin to build the next pillar. The second strategy involves day-to-day work. If your mind is naturally exploratory, a stable job that doesn't consume all your mental energy can be an extremely intelligent decision. Many great polymaths did exactly that. Albert Einstein, for example, worked at a patent office. That solid ground allowed his mind to wander through the universe. Your job is not just a source of income. It is a strategic asset. A low cognitive load job leaves you with a surplus of your most precious resource, mental energy, and that energy can be invested in building your other pillars. The final piece is a system. Because let's be honest, a scanner mind generates more ideas than it can store. Your mind is an idea factory, but your working memory is a small workbench. If you don't take ideas off the bench, there's no room to create new ones. That's why you need an external system. The sociologist Niklas Luhmann published more than 70 books. His secret was a simple method called Zettelkasten. He didn't write entire books at once. He captured ideas and connected them over time. You can do the same. When you become fascinated by a topic for a week, write it down. Store it in a simple system like Notion or Obsidian. When the obsession fades, you can let it go without guilt. Years later, in another project, those ideas may reconnect in unexpected ways. That's the magical moment. But it only happens if you capture the dots now, so you can connect them later. So let's summarize. You are not weak. You are not scattered. You are not a failure. You are a scanner, a polymath in potential. Your brain was not made for a rigid, predictable world. It was made to connect different worlds. Choose one pillar. Build it with focus. Use your job as a platform, not a prison, and create a system to hold your infinite curiosity. You were never meant to master just one thing. You were born to see how everything connects. And if, while listening to this, you thought, My problem isn't having too many interests. My problem is giving up when things get hard. That's normal too. It simply means you're at a different stage of the journey. In that case, I recommend watching the previous video. It will help you build that first essential muscle. Thank you for watching. I hope this gave you something you can actually apply, and I'll see you in the next video.